What was the first truck that you ever drove?
My little Ford cabover that's out in the barn back there.
You still have it.
The C600.
Wow.
It's one just like it.
Okay.
He doesn't have his
But
truck.
still.
His friend Stan Alice helped him find one up in the valley. He got some death-defying stories in that truck.
Yeah.
Vacuum brakes.
Vacuum brakes, and him and his brother, and they didn't know shit, and doing stuff they shouldn't have been doing, and you didn't have a driver's license.
Right.
How old were you when you started driving?
16.
Okay, that's more reasonable than some numbers I've heard.
His brother was only 14.
Yeah.
Well, didn't you leave your brother out somewhere in the desert or something? And
Oh, yeah.
Let's hear that.
Well, we were going down to Blythe to get a load of hay from Blythe alfalfa growers, Baga. And Larry wanted to drive, so I don't know, I forget where I let him start driving, but somewhere in India. And then we had to go up Scirocco grade, the grade that runs out of Indio up to the high desert. And it's a pretty long grade, but not that steep. At any rate, Josh is driving the truck and Larry's driving the truck and gets out to pass a guy. In fact, I can remember the truck. It was a Cooperated Copper State Sterling. It probably had a 200 in it, and black smoke rolling out of it. And this old driver wasn't going to let us around. So Larry's out in the passing lane, and over the crest of the hill comes a shiny new LT Mack conventional. Is hauling lumber. So we barely got back in to our lane before the Mack would have hit us head on.
Two-lane road in them days.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But I was so pissed off at Larry that when we got to the top of the grade, there's a restaurant called Mary's Place. And I asked Larry, sweetly enough, did he want to go in and get a Coke? And he was all for that. So when he got out of the truck to go into the restaurant, I slid over into the driver's seat and took off and left him standing there.
it gets better.
He was throwing rocks at me. I finally got out of there and noticed that he didn't break a mirror or break the rear window throwing rocks. So I went on to Blythe, and I kept watching for him passing me because I knew that he'd get a ride with a big truck. And he got a ride with a Kenworth conventional, like number 7, and a tanker, truck and trailer tanker working for Arizona Pacific. I remember the truck. And anyway, I got down to Blythe by myself, went out to Baga, Blythe alfalfa growers, and made a deal to hire a boom truck.
Boom truck.
Okay, and for $20, he's going to go out and load 20 tons of hay on the truck. So I thought that was a good deal because the big trucks he charged $25 for, but they hauled 25 tons. Anyway, I loaded the hay and went back to the scales in Blythe, and as I was pulling onto I was on the scales, waiting to pay for the hay, when out of the corner of my eye, I see Larry coming up with a giant palm frond. He smacked me over the back with a palm frond, and I took off running because I didn't know what it was. Could have been a 2x4. Anyway, I looked over my shoulder, and there was a scale man looking out the window of the scales. He was like standing on his tiptoes, looking out the scales, and watching Larry chase me.
Laughing is hard to think probably.
Well, he actually didn't know what the story was.
Probably wanted you to get that truck off his scale.
Yeah,
That's
charge
right.
you double or something.
Yeah. So anyway,
Did you let him back in the truck?
we were happy to see each other because all the way driving down to Blythe, I was thinking, what's Mom and Dad going to say that I left Larry out there, at the top of Scirocco Summit? But he actually got to Blythe probably 45 minutes before me because Kenworth was that much faster, and he spent the time in the park taking a nap.
And to hear Uncle Lair tell the story, he knew that my dad was going to be looking for him, and Uncle Lair actually ducked as they passed him so he couldn't see he was riding in that truck. And I don't know if he was taking a nap, but he was scheming because the whole thing was planned out. He was going to knock the shit out of you right there at the scale.
How old were you when this happened?
16.
Oh, goodness. This is right at the beginning.
What you've got to realize is that if you met his mother, she was probably the most overprotective woman on earth. She had no knowledge of trucks and had no idea that any of this was going on. She would have just had an absolute cow.